Hello, how are you, Brian?
Good. How are you?
Good. Second, I'm trying to get the other camera. I've got, there we go. There we go. I'm gonna get my microphone on too.
Yeah, no problem. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It was a busy day. Um, we, I run the presentation practice center on campus, and so I had to pack up my office because they're doing a remodel of the library and it's finally being finished. And so we had to make sure our office was packed up so they could move us over starting the 1st of August. So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
it's been busy.
And please remind me, you're at BYU, Idaho, is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Wonderful.
Yep, I'm a professor there, so I teach life skill classes and I teach public speaking and professional presentations.
Okay.
And it's a dream job for me. I love it. So
Nice. How long have you been there?
for 15 years.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. It seems weird to say 15 years, but yeah.
Goes fast.
It does. But when my kids are starting to leave and go on missions, it it tends to all kind of run together. So
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
yeah. Well, good. It's good to meet you. I'm glad Braden was able to get me in touch with you.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a little bit of what I'm doing. I mentioned I teach at BYU Idaho, and I'm doing my sabbatical research, and I tied it to one of the school's outcomes, which is we graduate competent communicators and people ready for the workforce. And so I looked at it and I asked for their measurables, like how are we doing that? And they're like, oh, we don't know. We just kind of that's what we're doing. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna find the measurables and I'll see what the workforce is wanting, and I'll bring it back. And they said, oh, that'd be great. So
Okay.
that's kind of what I'm doing.
All right.
So let's see. I guess overall, my mission is I'm trying to find the it factor. So with today's ever-changing world of evolving skills and expectations, I'm looking for the it factor, the quality, skills, and attributes that make individuals not only employable but valuable and those type of things. So when I go through these questions, think about the best employees or coworkers that you've had and just kind of think of them and answer the questions with them in the back of your mind, and
Sure.
we'll go from there.
Okay.
And then I'm just so you understand how this is set up. Uh, there's the finding stage that I'm going to ask you questions about, the interview stage, the trial stage, or like shortly after hiring, and then possible long-term stage or promotional stages and stuff like that of an employee, kind of like the life cycle of a job.
Okay. Okay.
So the first question I have is when you think about the best employees that you've had in your company, how are they first discovered or noticed?
Um, so some because some I've inherited, you know,
Mhm.
some I've hired, but I'm thinking of one in particular. He actually was uh he actually just applied normally through a I'm sure we posted on LinkedIn and all the different places that you post,
Yeah.
and his resume kind of made it to the top. And so, like I said, thinking of one person very specifically, I knew within seconds of talking to him over technology that he was the exact right person for the position.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How did you know he was the right person?
you know, that it factor, that intangible thing, it's
Mhm.
difficult to quantify.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time. I'm everyone's got different skills, different
Mhm.
talents. One thing that I've noticed, and I say this with respect, one skill that not everybody has is knowing who the right people are for a position. Um, and and a lot of people think that they do, but and I could be fooling myself, but I've been around long enough, had enough
Mhm.
success. I can tell who either knows what they're doing and is the right person, or I can tell very quickly if they could be,
Mhm.
because even if they don't have the skill sets, I can just tell if there's a there's a unique combination of personality and um, work ethic and natural curiosity and just something you kind of feel more than anything. Like I just knew I just connected with this guy and I was like, I don't care what it takes to get him. I'm like, he's the guy. Like I knew
Yeah.
it. So, but I guess to be fair, you also learn that from meeting with a lot of people that aren't the right one, you know?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Finding out who you don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you have enough experience kind of with enough people and enough places, you kind of, you know, you can just kind of navigate that a little bit easier, I guess.
So, is it fair to say that with time and repetition, you kind of develop an eye for those that have the it factor?
I think that's fair to say, and I wouldn't say it's never 100%,
Yeah.
even but I think you'll have a lot more hits than misses.
Mhm.
Like it can be like an 80-90% kind of thing, but there's still some misses in there.
Okay. Well, when you're sorting through applications, what makes someone rise to the top before the interview stage?
I've usually got in my head kind of some basic things I'm looking for. None of them are deal breakers, but I'm usually looking for a certain level of education, certain specific types of experience. Like I'm in the musical instrument industry,
Mhm.
and it's like a niche within a niche. I'm usually looking for engineers. Do they have the engineering chops? Okay. Do they understand audio? Or do they have background in audio? Okay. Do they have a degree where they can, not that a degree is everything, but a degree generally helps people have a little bit more of a disciplined approach,
Mhm.
you know, and it kind of shows that they can learn and adapt. So yeah, I have a basic, paper criteria. I'm usually looking for certain number of years of experience, but all of that has to be kind of flexible because and very open-minded because there are unicorns out there. I know a fair number of them, but not everyone's a unicorn, right?
Right.
And you have to also have an eye for like who could they become, you
Mhm.
know? If they're willing to learn and they're willing to work hard, almost anyone can do a lot of the things, enough time, given enough time.
Right. Oh, I like that. So when it comes to interviewing, are there any qualities or skills that make someone stand out during the interview process beyond just the resume or formal qualifications?
Well, I personally like when I like when people are just on. Maybe everybody doesn't like this. I can tell when people are being very honest and very direct.
Mhm.
You know, I it is a it's a turn off to me when I feel like someone is giving me an answer that they think I want to hear. You know, uh, I when I ask a question, I am expecting them to answer that question and not dance around it, not dazzle it. And if they don't know the answer and they just say they don't know or they have experience, I respect that. Now if there's too many of those, like, well, I don't know, and I don't know, I don't, it's like, okay, well, there may not be the foundation here that we need, but
Right.
I look for honest and direct communication. And not
Uh,
and obviously in an interview, there's a certain level of decorum, right? Like
right.
they're not gonna get, I'm not looking for like completely, unfiltered or anything like that.
Right.
But a respectful level of honest and direct communication.
Okay. Are there any common reasons someone gets hired even when there are multiple qualified candidates? So in other words, if you have two side by side, is there anything that kind of pushes somebody else over the top?
Um, there can be, and it can be a number of things. Is one person, they may have an edge for, maybe they have more experience, or maybe they have more passion, or maybe they live close to the office and don't need to relocate, and you're tight on budget, or if all things are equal, or I mean, it could be a number of different things. Some team fit could be a big one. Like things could be similar, but which one's personality might fit a little
Mhm.
bit better with the team that they're going to be working with? Um, is can one of them, are they more apt to be trained or take instruction, or do they think they know already have it all figured out? There's a lot, I mean, there's a lot of different things. Um,
Yeah.
and money might be one. If one person wants, an exorbitant amount of money, and the other one is kind of okay with something that's not super high, or where do they want to be on their career path? Like if I just
Mhm.
need someone that's going to be you know, purely technical, I just need that. I don't really need someone looking to be a manager, and one wants to be technical and the other wants to manage it. That could tip the scales too. So there's a lot of different things that
Yeah,
could come
I
into
can
play
see
with
that.
that. Yeah.
Well, here's a flip of the coin then. Are there any warning signs or gaps that make you hesitant to hire someone even if they appear qualified on paper?
Um, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking about, and I'm thinking about a guy once that this was kind of I'd never really done this before. This is a long time ago. It was for a guitar design build position. And I just handed him a guitar and I was like, tell me what you see. Like just like literally just walk through, just think out loud. Tell me what you see. Because I wanted to know if he knew what the parts were, what a good paint job looked like, fret work, all that kind of stuff. And he was very qualified on paper, but when I kind of gave him a hands-on situation, it didn't go great.
Mm,
Like there was a disconnect between what was on paper and what was reality. So um, I guess I'm not sure if I'm really answering your question, but I didn't have a great feeling after after that. And to be honest, I ended up hiring him, but the reason was because my boss at the time, we didn't have anybody else really. He was the closest thing we had. And he said, and I was a new manager, and he's like, well,
mhm.
we'd be stupid not to hire him. Well, if your boss says that to you,
Oh,
what
yeah.
what are you gonna do, right?
Right,
And so
right.
and so we did hire him, and he was a problem. Like it was a
Mhm.
legitimate, and then my boss got let go, and I had to kind of figure out how to try to help this guy for like 5 years. So it in this sounds bad, but when you're hiring in a lot of ways, you're hiring like in many ways not to lose,
Yeah, yeah,
because a bad hire is it's a gift that keeps on giving in a negative way for years and years, and it can be a drain on the entire team. So um, it's like you want to avoid bad hires. And I will say since then, my track record's been a lot more successful. But that was a difficult learning experience. It really was.
Yeah, I'm sure it helped you out with the other ones too. That's interesting. I think you answered that question spot on because uh, if the resume says one thing, but then they ap appear to be different than the resume, like there's a disconnect. It's like on paper you look great, in person it looks like we're lacking something. I agree. I think that's something that would be a sign or a gap. Uh, After somebody is hired, are there any qualities or behaviors that help them become a strong candidate, or not strong candidate for promotion, but strong fit for the workforce?
Well, I think it's incumbent upon the man. If not every business can afford to do this because it takes people. But in an
Yeah.
ideal world, let's so when, like when I was hired at Bell Labs, I felt early out of my career. I just spent like 4 years of undergrad and learning all this electrical engineering stuff. My first day on the job, they handed me like a 100-page schematic. And I looked at it and I was like, I have no idea what any of this is doing. Like literally no idea.
Mhm.
The thing that helped me, they assigned a mentor. So like a senior person that, I could go to for anything. So if, there was no stupid questions or anything like that, it was a safe space that I can bring any concern to. So I had a boss as well, but I had a mentor, and he's like, "Oh, well, this is what this is, and this is how this works." And well, actually, I don't know how this works, but this guy's the expert. He can help you.
Mhm.
That can be invaluable. Like having someone that they're not in your business all the time, but you have a safe space, a person that can guide, direct, kind of tell you how things work, that's not your boss necessarily. I found that to be very, very helpful.
Uh, what skills or characteristics separate employees who simply perform their job, show up, clock in, clock out, from those that become strong candidates for promotion, or somebody that you want to keep long term?
The ones that you want to keep long term, they're usually always trying to they're trying to their work does the talking. You know, they either beat or exceed their deadlines or the work that needs to be done. You can just tell they've got a quality like where they're on fire and they're trying to and I want to do everything I can to foster that fire, make sure they've got what they need. People that are punching the clock, you see, it's tricky.
Yeah.
Because there are people that do. I worked with a guy, a good guy, like a workhorse day in and day out. He just got the job done. His projects were never on fire. He never got promoted because there was never any attention drawn to him. He wasn't
Mhm.
managed very well. We were peers. And he did that for years and years and years. It was kind of taken for granted. So I went to bat for him. And I was like, hey, I know that like he's not on the he hasn't had to put out a bunch of fires and do all these big showy things. I said, but he's delivering for you and has for years. I think constant, consistent delivering, doing what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, to me, that that's very, very valuable. And some people can even they can do that or exceed it for a long period, not just once. They can do it almost every time. And when
Mhm.
you notice that pattern over time, I'm like, they become very, very valuable to me and to the company. I want to do everything I can to keep them.
I love that. Um, what qualities, behaviors, or skill gaps prevent people from being promoted, even when they're technically good at their jobs?
Oh, well, in the engineering world, um, sometimes the best engineers don't make the best managers,
Mhm.
because they're very, very good technically, and people think, oh, well, you could lead a group. Well, they don't, they don't, most of them don't want to do that. They don't really like dealing with people. They don't want to deal with people's problems. They can solve the problems themselves, but they managing people versus managing a project, completely different skill sets. Like completely different skill sets. So um I don't know if I'm answering your question well,
No,
but
I think you're close because yeah, when you said managing people versus projects, that they're just two different things. Because is it safe to say that if they're good at managing projects, they'll probably stick with projects? Because if they're not good at managing people, then they're not going to get promoted to do the leadership and those type of things. Is that
yeah,
accurate?
yeah, that's accurate because most promotions have to do with managing more people. Not always. Usually there's in my world there's a technical track and there's a management track. And
Mm,
if you want to be on the technical track, you do sort of you kind of cap out. It's there's a ceiling there. But if you're on a management track, I mean, you could end up on an executive team. You could end up running a company, you know. Um, so there's a little more opportunity of managing people, but man, it's not for everybody.
yeah.
It's not for
No, I
everyone.
yeah, I agree. Uh, so let me ask you this. This isn't one of the questions, but maybe a follow-up on this. When it deals with people that are just they're technical, they're good at doing projects, kind of being on their own, running with those. Can in your opinion, can they be taught the people skills to manage people, or is that more of a personality trait?
I hate to say, could they be taught? Possibly. Have I ever seen that work successfully? No. It usually seems to be more something that's a little more natural to people. Um, and a lot of them don't like they just if they're good technically, a lot of them just want to stay good technically.
Yeah,
They're like, I like what I do, I enjoy my work, I like working with other people on a team, but like leading the team, driving the team, managing the team, and all that, a lot of them don't want to deal with that.
yeah.
It's like a headache to them.
Well, it can be extra stress that, I don't know, if you got a project to do and you get it done and you do it well versus putting out fires all over the place and personality conflicts. I get that.
Well, and a
Uh,
number of engineers will say things like, and it's very true. They say, look, if I a chipset or software or whatever, it will do exactly what I designed it to do,
right.
right? But when it comes to people, it doesn't. It's not that way.
No, that's interesting. Well, when you think about the people that are most successful in your organization or industry, what qualities, characteristics, or skills do they consistently demonstrate?
I'm thinking of one guy who, and to be honest, not always the nicest person, but he has a drive and a passion and a fire and he has a very good sense of what the market wants, and he knows how to run a profitable business. The problem with him, sometimes he'll leave a wake of carnage behind him of
Yeah.
maybe not always being um, nice to people. It's difficult. It's really difficult in corporate America to I very much strive to, and I hopefully succeed at being a servant leader. But that
Hmm.
is not what corporate America is wired for. And you stick out like a sore thumb, both as a servant leader and just as a believer in general. And but a lot of things come along with servant leadership, in my opinion, that lead to success, which is usually putting the team and their needs above your own, when there's success, you give the team the credit, right? You don't take the credit unto yourself. You make sure they're taken care of, money wise. You're cool with them when it comes to time off. You're just treating them like humans, right? Just being kind and compassionate, and but also firm with expectations. But I've seen, I think the teams that I've been over have, I think, one really appreciated it and I think thrived with that. I mean, I'll tell you, I shouldn't say this because it's being recorded, but
Mhm.
please don't share it with anyone. I got
Okay,
people
yeah,
on
I
my
won't, I
team now
promise.
I actually can't believe uh, stay for a variety of reasons, but I think they do that because of the, the they're known, they're valued, they're treated well and humanely, and giving credit where credit's due. Little things that
Yeah,
don't cost anything. Like they're free. And it's really very basic, but it's so rare in my experience. I mean, maybe my experience is, you know, I've only worked at like four different companies, so I can't say I've been all around, but it seems to be pretty rare. But I think
yeah.
that's what leads to success. There's something inside people that like they can tell when your motivations are pure or not.
I love that. The little things that don't cost anything. Uh, here, when I'm teaching, a lot of the things that require little or no effort make a big difference, like not hitting the snooze button, showing up,
Right.
raising your hand when there's just little things can lead to big things. And there's a principle in the scriptures, if I understand that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right. So, by small and simple things, great
yeah,
things brought to pass. Well, I mean, you're talking about things like things you're mentioning. I consider expectations. And by the way, I'm not a clock watcher with my team,
yeah,
but I'll say things like, look, I need you to get the job done. I don't really care if you do it 8 to 5, or I don't care when you do it, but you need to be
mhm,
available for the team, and you need to get it done. Like if
yeah,
you say you're going to do it, I expect you to do it. If you need something, let me know. I'll make sure you have it, and we'll get this thing done. So,
yeah, that's true. Well, I've got one last question for you. This is a reflection question. So go back to your 17-year-old self with
okay.
all the acne and everything.
Yeah, I had plenty of
So you're gonna
that.
let's say that you're gonna advise your 17-year-old self, and you know yourself better than anybody else, and you want them to be hired, succeed, eventually be promoted, all that stuff. What would you tell yourself to develop first, and why?
um, I would say actually attitude
Hmm.
if it's about me.
Yeah,
I would I had a little because I had a little bit of an attitude problem when I was 17, and it got knocked out of me when I was 20. But if you can humble yourself and have the right attitude, you know, and that would be the big one for me. And the other thing that I you know maybe could have should have done was spent more time talking to people who had already been down these roads to kind of glean, you know, some insights or wisdom from them. But
anybody in particular?
well, I mean, look, if I'm reflecting, should I? I mean, I started playing guitar when I was 12, and I was lucky to make a career out of musical instruments, but it's not it's not an easy it's not the thing you're going to do to retire early or anything like that. And
Yeah.
and between you and I, it's and please don't misunderstand. I've been so blessed and so grateful for my career, but there's a part of me it's like, should I have been an ophthalmologist?
Right.
Should I have done something that actually helps people, makes really makes a bigger difference in the world? Should I have this or that or the other? But that's in the past. But
Yeah.
attitude. If you have the right attitude, if you humble yourself and have the right attitude, the Lord can do almost anything with you. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, and he can take whatever our job is and our passions are, he can use that to serve. I love when you said that serving leader attitude, and I think he can do that with everything. So
Yeah, yeah,
awesome. Well, Brian, I appreciate your time. This is valuable information for me. Uh, I'm starting to see themes come about that I think's important, and now the ability to translate that into the classes, that's going to be a different task, but we'll get there.
well,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't want to overstep it. I'm kind of curious to see
Yeah.
the outcome of all of your research here. If it's something you're able to share at some
I'd
point,
be
I'd
happy
love to
to.
see it.
Yeah, this isn't anything I'm going to sit on and or anything like that. Um, I've had enough requests that I'll probably, after everything's said and done, I'll share that. And I'm not quite sure if it's going to be a book or if it's going to be a lecture series or just some general principles. But when I get that put together, I'll definitely send that out to you. I'd love to
Yeah,
share it.
yeah, I'd look forward to that. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Well, is there anybody else that you think would be good to talk to now that you've heard the questions and know kind of the direction that this goes? And you don't have to tell me now because I intend to
Yeah.
reach out and follow up to just see, and you could just respond to that too. But if there is somebody that comes to mind, if you wouldn't mind either put me in contact with them or just give me their contact information and the permission to share your name. Um, I've been overwhelmed with the amount of people willing to share their time and expertise with me, and so whatever you have would be very grateful.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that some thought. Sounds good.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It was good to get to know you.
Yeah, likewise. You too. Take care, Spencer.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.